You ever get that feeling where you look at a piece of tech and realize the world just moved about 4 inches to the left while you were sleeping?
Is this about your new phone again? Because I told you, the home button isn't coming back, Tiger. Let it go.
No, no, my thumb has finally accepted the glass screen. I'm talking about the weld shop. I was reading up on what's happening over in the South Korean shipyards. We've been talking about robotic arms for decades, those big orange spiders that live in cages, but we're officially entering the era of the humanoid welder.
Humanoid, like C3PO holding a TIG torch? That feels more like a sci-fi movie than a manufacturing solution. Do they come with a dry sense of humor and a bad back, or is that a premium upgrade?
Well, if they can mimic my knack for picking up the wrong grit of sandpaper 3 times in a row, then they're truly advanced. But seriously, it's wild. Cirrus Automation just pushed this massive update for their pre-weld inspection systems. It's for the pipe and tube guys. It's got these algorithms that catch flaws before the arc even strikes. It's like having a supervisor with x-ray vision who never needs a smoke break.
Okay, but as someone who values the human part of craftsmanship, aren't you a little spooked? If a robot can navigate a cluttered shop floor on two legs and lay a perfect bead on a pipe, does the Tiger of 2030 still have a job?
It's a different kind of job, Alex. These bots don't have the feel. They don't know the sound of the metal when it's about to blow through. They're great for the repetitive stuff, the soul-crushing production runs that turn a man's brain into mush. But the intuition, the way you adjust your posture because you can feel the heat changing through your glove, a computer is just guessing at that based on numbers. It's an assistant, not a replacement. Besides, Basic Metals is adding 42,000 square feet to their plant. They aren't building all that space just for robots. They're building it because the demand for real structural work is exploding.
Demand is definitely up, but the barrier to entry for the next generation is usually the toolbox tax. You know, that moment when a kid decides to be a mechanic or a plumber and realizes they need about 4 grand in tools just to get their foot in the door.
Don't I know it? I remember my first set of wrenches, I bought them out of the back of a truck, and I'm pretty sure the metal was seasoned with nothing but hope and cheap chrome. They rounded off more bolts than they turned.
Well, the good news is there's a leg up for those kids now. Bring Back the Trades just opened up their national grant program. We're talking $1,500 grants every month specifically for tool programs.
1,500 bucks. Man, that's not just a starter kit, that's a lifesaver. That's a high-end cordless set, a real boots-on-the-ground diagnostic kit, and enough left over for a lunch that isn't a gas station burrito. If you're an apprentice and you aren't applying for that, you're basically leaving a brand new toolbox on the sidewalk for someone else to pick up.
And it's not just the tools. Train Technologies, the HVAC giants, just opened their Advanced Technology Training Center. It's less of a classroom and more of a laboratory for the next generation. They're training people on systems that are basically space station grade.
That's where the trade career is going. It's not just fixing the heater anymore, it's thermodynamics meet computer science. I love seeing that investment. It validates what we've been saying. The trades aren't a fallback plan, they're a high stakes, high reward career path.
Speaking of reward, let's talk about the maker mogul side of things. I was looking at the Beekman 1802 story in our digest today. Tiger, they turned a herd of goats into a $92 million empire.
Goats. If you told me 10 years ago that the secret to a multi-million-dollar exit was stubborn farm animals and soap, I'd have sold my saws and bought a pasture.
But it wasn't the goats, let's be honest. It was the why. They didn't just sell soap, they sold a story. They sold the idea of a simpler, high-quality life.
That's the piece most makers trip over. They spend 1,000 hours perfecting the joinery on a table, and they should, but then they take a blurry photo of it in a dark garage and wonder why nobody's buying. Shopify actually released a blueprint for 2026 that hits this hard. Validate before you overinvest. Don't build 50 of something because you think it's cool. Build one, tell the story of how it was made, see if the world bites, and then fire up the assembly line.
It's about social proof. If you can't get someone to click pre-order, why would you spend your last 3 grand on inventory? It's a hard pill to swallow for the craftsman who just wants to stay in the sawdust, but if you want to be a mogul, you have to be a storyteller.
Between you and me, I still struggle with that. I'd rather talk to a piece of walnut than a camera any day of the week. But you see these guys on the Maker channel, they're showing 60 different tools that save time. They aren't just showing the tool, they're showing the result. Efficiency is the bridge between a hobby that costs you money and a business that makes you money.
Let's pivot to the weekend warriors. Our DIY mastery section for this week is pretty ambitious. A custom cabinet humidor? That sounds like a recipe for a very expensive pile of wood if the seal isn't right.
Oh, that's a patience build. A humidor is basically a wooden submarine. It has to be airtight, and you're dealing with Spanish cedar, which is as finicky as a hungry toddler. If you rush the lining, your cigars will end up as dry as a desert bone. But the payoff? Man, it's a beautiful piece of engineering. It's the ultimate test for an intermediate woodworker because it combines fine joinery with climate control.
And for the people who want to add value to their house without a degree in humidity management.
The built-in desk. That's the gold standard for 2026. Everyone is still working from home, and everyone is tired of staring at a blank wall or a folding table. Taking that dead space in a bedroom or a nook and turning it into a custom workstation, that's how you add 5 figures of value to a home for a fraction of the cost of materials.
So, what's the common thread here? Whether you're competing with a humanoid robot, applying for your first tool grant, or building a skincare empire from a goat farm.
It's the willingness to evolve. The world is getting faster and higher tech, but the core hasn't changed. You still need the right tools, you still need to know your why, and you still have to be willing to get your hands dirty. Whether you're using an AI-guided welding torch or a $20 chisel, the goal is the same. Leave something better than you found it.
I think I found my why today. It's getting you to admit that a robot might actually be a better welder than you.
Keep dreaming, Alex. When a robot can smell a knot in a piece of pine from across the room and know exactly how it's going to react to a plane blade, then I'll retire. Until then, I've got work to do.
And that's the TigerDen Daily. Check the show notes for the Bring Back the Trades grant links and the Shopify blueprint. Now go make something.
Seriously though, the humidor, you basically have to treat it like you're building a jewelry box for air